It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Folks, it is, I don't know what week it is. I'll let Josh Waters tell us. What week is it? Josh, you're on the phone. What week is this for the scorecard?
Good morning, Paul. It is week 10. I'm sharing your frustration. So just 3 weeks left to go. Under the current date, I set to recess on April 12th. I've got week 10 scorecard with 3 weeks left to go in the session.
Okay, so this is week number 10, Conduit scorecard. Let's go with let's get positive here for a second. Let's start with SB 620. What's SB 620? What's it going to do?
Yep. SB 620 is a school choice pilot program. That'll be just in Pulaski County, but it's going to allow 500 scholarships for low-income students to use those scholarships at a private school. And $3.5 million is the price tag, and that's going to come from the governor's discretionary fund. So it's a good bill, pretty straightforward bill. It's going to allow parents' choice for the best education for their child, and they're going to be able to have this funding to be able to get that education. It's not a bigger program. It's not statewide. It's just Pulaski County. But I think the goal and hope is that people will see the success that this pilot program has in Pulaski County and hopefully extend it statewide in the future.
I agree, and I think this is a good first step. You know, it's a small step, but it's something that you got to support. It's in the Republican Party platform. It's about more choice, more freedom. And again, that's SB 620. This is by Senator Blake Johnson and State Representative Ken Bragg. We're going to be talking with them later in the week about this good piece of legislation. And, of course, there's a lot of heat. I mean, the Democrats had a press conference yesterday trying to stop this. So, I mean, it's predictable. If the left does not want this for sure. But you know, I got to commend the Republicans who are willing to do this and give parents more choice.
Yeah, you know, like you said, Paul, it's in the Republican Party platform, whether it's supporting school choice, voting against tax increases, defending the Second Amendment, or protecting the unborn. You know, that's all in the Republican Party platform. So it would seem clear on this bill that it would sail through with supermajorities. I think we'll see. I think the fact that it's just Pulaski County may actually lend more votes.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they did it this way. They didn't have the votes to do a statewide program. But at the end of the day, this is a good school choice bill, provides more choice and opportunity for students who may not have the resources to go to a school that would be better suited for what's best for them.
We're talking with Josh Waters. This is week number 10, Conduit Scorecard. We're going to go to the next bill, SB 571. What does this do? And it's in the opposed category.
Yep. So Senate Bill 571, a lot of talk. It's now headed to the House Revenue and Tax Committee. This is the bill by Senator Hendren that would raise taxes, cigarettes, and vaping $100 million a year, and would then turn around and establish this redistribution of wealth program, the EITC. Would also cut standard deduction rate and cut the lowest income rate in Arkansas, that rate. So, at the end of the day, a lot of shuffling of the deck chairs, and Senator Hendren admitted that.
Yeah, on the Titanic. Shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, it is what it is. You know, it's shuffling around. I know you've played several times now Senator Gardner's comments. I've read the fiscal impact statement several times. I can't make heads or tails. It seems like for the first time they're somehow doing somewhat dynamic scoring on the smoking issue, that if we tax more and going forward there's going to be less smoking. I haven't seen that anywhere for anything else. So that fiscal impact statement's all over the place, numbers all over the place. At the end of the day, Paul, this bill raises taxes on our Kansans. You've talked to the small business owners. It's been very well established. This is going to hurt small business vape shops. It's going to, they say, put some of them out of business. They're going to have to cut employees. And at the same time, it's redistributing that wealth that's going to put them out of business and creating a welfare program. Paul, this EITC program, 4 Republicans in the entire House of Representatives last session voted for this. 4 in the entire House of Representatives out of 76 voted for this when it got to the House floor last session.
Wow.
Somehow this got out of the Senate. It's in the House Revenue and Tax Committee. seems dead on arrival. That's what you hear. But this
You never
session,
know.
I think all bets are off.
All bets are off. You never know. We have the Arkansas Senate that is effectively operating as a state agency under the direction of Governor Asa Hutchinson. They are not an independent branch from the executive. That is clear, and that's because of family relations. And anyone that would dispute that, apparently you don't. I don't know if you have a family member that you love, or that you families stick together. That's just what happened. Anybody who would dispute that is just disputing just natural human behavior. Anyway, so we have the EITC. Oh, Josh is saying only 4. Let's talk about the platform, okay? We know one thing. We just talked about the school choice. That's in the Republican Party platform. Earned income tax credit, not in the Republican Party platform.
No, I mean, I'm not sure. I think you played Brummett's comments. It caught a lot of people off guard, this EITC, because all this EITC standalone policy, and that's what they do. They put, competing policies together that can't stand on their own in one single bill.
Yep.
This EITC was brought forward in the Revenue and Tax Committee by a Democrat. It was voted down. I think it got 2 or 3 Democrat votes in the House Revenue and Tax Committee. That was like 3 weeks ago, right? And they defeated it last session on the House floor. Only 4 Republicans voted for it. Not a Republican idea. It's a redistribution of wealth program. When you read through the impact statement, it also talks about how people from out of state, they might be able to monopolize on where they actually get more than they earn in the state. And that's true for a lot. So a lot of problems with the bill overall. Huge tax increase, a huge redistribution of wealth program to be an easy no vote. That's why Conduit for Action is opposed. It decreases economic freedom for small businesses and increases dependency on government with this EITC program.
100%. Yeah, and I do want to add here, you say it's not a Republican idea. The left is going to say, well, it originally was. Okay, that's fine. I mean, I haven't really actually researched that to know if that's true. If it was originally a Republican idea, that was a long time ago. It's not a Republican idea now. Okay, so that's not a legitimate argument. Okay, you can go back in the early 90s and find when the Republican Party proposed the individual mandate, meaning everybody should be required to pay for health insurance. Thankfully, the Republican Party doesn't support that idea now because they understand that it's unconstitutional to force somebody to buy a product just for being alive. Anyway. We're talking with Josh Waters. Let's go to the last bill on the scorecard, Week 10 Conduit Scorecard, SB 576. I've spent most of the show talking about this, Josh. What is this?
Yep, so this is the bill that includes the internet sales tax. Passed overwhelmingly in the Senate yesterday. I think if I have to go back and check for sure, but I think only a couple of Republicans didn't vote for this. In the Senate, there's actually seems like there's more pushback on how this is going to affect car washes than the average Kansan who's going to be paying more with internet.
I know. It's so frustrating. Yeah. Oh, it's just like the House of Representatives 2 weeks ago. They $20 million for a stump fire that should be somebody else's fault. And, we should be going after him or whoever the landowner is. And $20 million for the stump fire, no debate. And then they take 7 questions on if you rob flowers from a grave the second time, maybe that should be a felony, and that you thought that was the end of the world. It just doesn't make any sense. Anyway, they're more concerned with the car wash provisions of this bill than they are, taking what is, according to Conduit News analysis, Josh, $235 million more from the people, but they're only claiming, tell us about this, they're only claiming it's going to take $47 million from the people.
Yeah, Paul, at the end of the day, I'm not sure how these numbers add up. So in 2017, when they came forward with the internet sales tax provision, DFNA did not put out any fiscal statement. The sponsors of the bill themselves estimated it would be $100 million to $150 million. Okay, that's 2017. 2018, the tax task force is meeting. They go through the process. They do the draft legislation for these remote sellers, and they come out with this fiscal impact statement saying $47 million total, $35 million to state. Well, now they've added language, Paul, that would include third-party sellers, marketplace facilitators. That is new language. It was not in the 2017 bill. It was not in the South Dakota bill that was upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court, and it was not in the draft legislation last fall. Even with that, they used the same fiscal impact of this $47 million total, 35 to the state. Paul, it just doesn't make sense. That was the big discussion point: is, hey, we want to get these third-party sellers because that's going to be even more money. At the end of the day, what this bill does, it grows government at all levels: the state, the county, the city. People voted really recently, Paul, in Northwest Arkansas, over in Fort Smith, up in Greene County. They said no more taxes. Worthy causes, they say, we're taxed enough already. Find the money somewhere else. You have enough money, reprioritize it. This is a tax increase on the people and grows government at all levels.
And there's no way around that. There's no way around that. And I don't know how. I have this session, I have tried so hard to see the positives, call them out when I can. But if that number at the end of the day, when they're done, Josh, if it's more money coming from the people, when you take into effect the income tax cuts versus the gas tax increases, the wholesale tax, the half-cent sales tax, the 911 tax increase, the internet sales tax increase, I just don't see how their equation, especially for the next fiscal year, because they're going to start collecting all these new taxes in October and July and October if the EITC goes through.
Yeah. In this bill, Paul, to that point, this shows you how kind of ridiculous, in my opinion, this has gotten. There's an emergency clause on this bill, but only emergency is passing the internet sales tax. And they say that unless we pass that and implement it by July 1st, 2019, that there is a threat to the public peace, health, and safety unless we pass this tax increase and implement it right away.
Interesting. That's interesting. I wonder, man, I just kind of feel like we're in a budget crisis that no one wants to talk about. I've been saying it for a year and a half, or 2 years now. I think we're in a budget crisis. That's why they're coming back to the people for more and more money. I don't know if the people can survive this. I mean, I don't know if small businesses can survive in this climate. I mean, I definitely know the Trump tax cuts are helping a lot of people, but Arkansas, man, we got to get our act together. This is not sustainable when you're spending almost $8,000 a person to run our government versus the average of states around us are spending $5,000. This is just not sustainable. But so this bill, SB 576, it flew through the Senate. It's probably going to fly through the Revenue and Tax Committee tomorrow, out of the House, probably be on the floor. What you think if it gets out of the House committee, Josh? This will be on the floor. Internet sales tax on Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah. So if it runs today in committee and gets out, it'll be on the floor tomorrow. So now's the time. It's the last stand, I guess you could say, to stop the internet sales tax here in Arkansas. It also, like I said, includes marketplace facilitators, and it just, Paul, at the end of the day, grows government, more money out of the pockets of Arkansas into the coffers.
One more thing, though. I want to remind the House, they voted this down last time, right? They rejected it. And many of them might have rejected it because the sponsor admitted it was openly unconstitutional. The Supreme Court has now upheld South Dakota's law as constitutional. But this bill, Josh, right, is not the same as that law that was held constitutional, right?
That's right. It includes the marketplace facilitator language. Now, the threshold requirements are the same. There's other parts that are the same, very similar.
Okay, very similar.
The reason this is probably not going to get voted down, maybe, is because they've added in corporate reform that's needed. So it's going to cut the corporate income tax rate, good. It's going to extend the net operating loss, good. But they've put that in. Last time, the internet sales tax was an up-and-down vote on the merits of this tax increase.
Yeah.
This time, it's put into a bill that once you get large corporations, involved in a bill, and
it's going to fly by because they've taken two issues, a good thing and a bad thing, and put them together. Now that corporate income tax reform, though, when does that actually go into effect? Right, it doesn't go into effect immediately, does it? It's several years out. That's
right. So the corporate tax income cut is a phase-in over 2 fiscal years. The net operating loss, there will be no fiscal impact until 2026. So under this bill, as written, this is a net tax increase in the first fiscal year. It doesn't become anywhere near net revenue neutral until 2023. And I would argue up until and that's using their numbers. I think if you look at the real estimate of maybe 100 to 150 million, it's not revenue neutral for 10 years. And that's assuming online sales kind of stay stagnant, which I think they're going to go up.
So you're saying that if DFNA actually puts out a new fiscal impact statement, that this thing won't be revenue neutral for almost 10 years?
I would argue that, Paul, because I think the true fiscal impact is closer to this 100 to 150 million. Take Little Rock, for example, right? This DFNA is saying 11.8 million total cities and counties increase. Little Rock, on their own estimate, one city in Arkansas is saying they'll get 10 million. They made that estimate 2017 and just last year based on actual sales, and then applying the percentage of sales that are from online. So if you look at that number, okay, 10 million just from Little Rock, and they're saying 11.8 for all cities and counties. But doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up.
We know there's going to be a lot coming from Northwest Arkansas, Jonesboro, all over the area.
Well, so dispute the numbers. I mean, I know over at Conduit News they're talking about it could be as much as 235 million, right?
Yeah, so that, I think that's probably a high estimate, but using their logic, because there's representatives said about 80% of the impact would be from these marketplace sellers, because Amazon's voluntarily collecting.
Yeah.
But you'll notice with some purchases, third-party purchasers, they're not collecting. So it would sweep all of that in under this facilitator language. So if you take that 80%, well, if 80% is from the facilitator language, and that's never been included in a fiscal impact, okay, 35 million for 20% remote sellers, that's what they said before, plus new language, and that's 80%. We're just extrapolating that out. That's the 235.
Yeah,
235 million.
And this may sound confusing to people, but this is what they've designed it to be this way. So you, the average listener, is confused and just gives up, and that's not what we need. I mean,
exactly right.
But this, what we're reporting what they're doing. They need more money from the people. Grows government. And it's just a bad deal. The whole thing's a bad deal. Now, the corporate stuff is good, but then again, the corporate income stuff doesn't even happen for years out. They will start collecting this tax immediately. Something's up. We're in a budget revenue crisis. Josh Waters, appreciate it, sir. It's always great to have you on.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, we're going to take a break. Back in a minute.